And 3, 2, 1. Maybe. Welcome. I hope everybody is doing lovely on this wonderful day. I have a beautiful, wonderful guest with me today, Miss Kimberley Palm. Welcome, Miss Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea, for having me on your channel. I really appreciate you.
I'm so excited because we planned this like maybe 3 weeks ago. So
yeah,
it's September 6th and the day is here, and we are talking about this amazing book, Ascension 101, a roadmap for your soul. And I'm so excited to connect with you, Kimberly, because I really, really felt drawn to you. And so I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's funny that you say you're drawn to me because I was just saying the same. It's like the mutual admiration club. I was just telling Chelsea before we came on how I just love her personality because she's so positive and high vibe and perky and energetic and loving and sweet and compassionate. Like she's just like, it's like I told her, it's kind of like how I feel when I go eat an ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
Like all that happy, joy kind of feeling. That's what I get. Like the energy I get off of Chelsea as an empath. I'm like extremely empathic. And the energy I feel when I watch you is just this happy, joy, like energy.
Yay.
So, yeah.
That's so good because I'm not always happy, joy. So I wouldn't want to come off in a negative way, but I'm so glad. I told her, yeah, I'm all about having fun. So, you know, if we're thinking like running after ice cream trucks or something, that sounds like fun to me. So I'm all about it.
I still run after ice cream trucks.
Well, Jackson and I never have money, you know, like, and then by the time we have the money, they're gone. So that's okay. We'll get to our ice cream. I thought we could start off with a little blessing just because we are so all about the positive right now. And, you know, not looking at putting any fear out there and just totally transitioning to the positive and stepping into our power because it is the time. It is our time. So I'm going to go ahead and light this, and beautiful Miss Kimberley Palm is going to say a little blessing. Should I call you Kimberly or Kim?
Yes, Kimberly. Yep. Thank you. Yes, Kimberly. I do not like to be called Kim. Thank you for asking.
Great. Yep. Kimberly, if you want to say a little blessing for us, why I can try to get
absolutely. So, Mother, Father, Prime Creator, I lift up Chelsea and myself and this video to you, and Archangel Michael. I ask for your assistance, and I just ask that every word that comes out of my mouth and out of Chelsea's is for the highest good and best interest of everyone listening, and that the people who need to hear this message today will hear it. I ask Archangel Michael to place multiple shields of protection around Chelsea and myself and this video, and make it invisible, put a cloak of invisibility over it from the bad guys. So no negative, nefarious beings can access this video or see this video in any way, shape, or form. It will only be seen by people who are of the light and of love and of a high vibrational frequency. Thank you. And so it is.
Last little bit. Perfect.
Smudging, love smudging. I've got my Palo Santo stick here that I use.
This is so pretty. This is from this artist. Her name is I Am Cachette.
Oh.
Or the website is I Am Cachette. It's Kechet. She makes it. Look at this bracelet she made.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It's like a whole
bunch. Is that rose quartz? That's beautiful.
A whole bunch of different ones. This
looks like rose quartz. Wow. Yeah. That is so fancy. Wow.
She handmade this bracelet, and I love this little like rainbow sage. I've never seen anybody do that before. So
I want her link before I go. I want her link.
Okay, and I'll put it in the comments for everybody, but it's IamKechet.com. IamKechet.com. Yeah, and I've recently found like some really great Etsy stores. Like I got this Ankh. This was only like $33, but it's handmade.
It's just so beautiful. It looks like organite. It looks like an organite Ankh. Is that organite? So is it like resin with crystals inside of it?
Yes.
Oh, that's so incredibly beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And they have different ones. They have like a tiger's eye one that's really beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
My ankh broke. I had a gold ankh I usually wear, and the little clasp that goes on it just broke right off. I don't even know why. But it did. It just broke on its own. So yeah, weird.
Man. All right. Well, let me read your little bio just in case anybody is new to Miss Kimberly. Kimberly Palm has been an author, speaker, teacher, and spiritual advisor for more than 3 decades. Kimberly is currently a spiritual teacher and ascension guide for spiritual speakers of the truth. She has studied metaphysics, spirituality, esoterics, world religion, energy healing, and holistic health for most of her life. Kimberly uses her knowledge and experience, as well as her gifts of intuition, clairvoyance, channeling, energy skills, empathic abilities, and other gifts to advise and guide people on their spiritual journey. So welcome, Miss Kim. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, I mean, well, you kind of did. I basically, I was born, well, but I mean, I can go a little more in depth. I was born with my abilities. My mother was psychic. My grandma was psychic. My great grandma was psychic. All the women in my grandma's family, I shouldn't say all of them, because for some reason it skips a sibling. So like, let's say you have 2 kids, one kid gets them, the other one doesn't. So like my brother didn't have them. My mom's sister didn't have them. My grandma's sister didn't have them. So when you have the kids, there's like one kid who gets these psychic gifts, and it goes down generation after generation. So, you know how they talk about people being awake? I've literally been awake like my whole life, but there's various degrees of awakeness. So like things like finding out that 9 million kids are trafficked every year. I didn't find that out until the last like 3-4 years. Finding out that the Catholic Church I belong to, that I would go to every week and was really involved in it, singing in the choir, all that kind of stuff. Finding out that they really worship Lucifer, and they do all kinds of baby sacrificing and stuff under the Vatican, and you know, all that kind of thing. That's kind of stuff I learned in recent years. But as far as my awakeness about the fact that we're in this like matrix that's run by dark lords and everybody's basically enslaved, and the planet's kind of like hell, basically. I've known that literally my whole life. And then when I was 19, I found out that the medical system was totally cabal and bad, because the doctor misdiagnosed me and then handed me a drug that if I wasn't a psychic, if I would have taken that, I'd probably be dead now. I wouldn't even be here after age 19. Because they said I had something I didn't. And then they said, here's this drug you need to take. And my other doctor said, if you would have taken that, you'd probably be dead or very sick in the hospital. So that was like my wake up to the fact that the medical system is completely cabal broke. I mean, it's just created to make people sick, then keep them sick, and then sell them drugs that keep them sick and band-aid the symptoms until they die an early death. And then I've learned, you know, about the political system in recent years. But other than that, I think I've been pretty awake about other things, you know, most of my life. So all I know is I came to this planet as a starseed. I raised my hand and I volunteered to come and work as a team with all the other starseeds and light workers to save planet Earth from the cabal, basically, to save this planet and to help everybody ascend into the fifth density, which is where we're going. So yeah, that's about, I guess, all I can say for now, you know, other than, I mean, I'm just here as a teacher and a healer and just to help people as much as I can and be of service to humanity and animals, children. And honestly, right now, I'm mostly helping adult people, but in the future, my plan is to switch from adult humans to mostly animals and kiddos, little kids, because I'd rather work with them. So
anyway. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And that made me think, so basically what you're describing through learning the truth about, like, you know, the whole religion establishment, medical establishment, you're realizing like you cannot, okay, I know that I cannot trust all the people that we are supposed to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, like realizing that in a jolting way made it like really apparent, like, okay, wow, I believed the lies my whole life, and now I see they were doing this all along. Okay, what's it like to grow up with that? Because if I had known that as a child, then I don't know how that would have affected me. Like I would have been really scared. It's almost like maybe I'm glad I didn't know as a child, like who they really were. What was it like growing up, knowing that you couldn't trust the people that we're supposed to be able to trust?
Well, I mean, the thing is I had a lot of anxiety, to be honest. I suffered from anxiety and panic attacks for a lot of years until I was old enough to start healing myself of that. And because I didn't really have my clear audience that I have now. So I guess I should go backwards. So I was born with, intuitive abilities and some abilities, but the abilities I have now, a lot of them didn't develop until after I gave birth to my first kiddo 24 years and a half years ago. So the thing is that when I was growing up and I knew all these things, like, how would you like it if you're a kid and you're seeing demons and you're seeing dead people and you're seeing like entities and all this, and you don't know what the hell they are. And it's really traumatizing. And I was terrified, and I was terrified to death. Like if I would start to
tell anybody, like, did you talk
about no, because my mom and I didn't have a very good relationship. And then the other people in my family didn't really believe in this kind of stuff or whatever. So I couldn't really talk about it. I had nobody to talk to.
Felt like you couldn't really bring it up around your friends. It's not like,
yeah, I couldn't. I had nobody to talk to when I was growing up because all of my friends were muggles, I guess you can call them. So it would be kind of like in Harry Potter land. I was a magical creature and they were all muggles. So I had nobody to talk to. I didn't have any psychic friends. The first person I could talk to was when I was 14, 15 years old, and I met my best friend, Antoinette. And her grandma was a well-known psychic in our neighborhood, and her mom was psychic and she was psychic. And they were the first people I could actually have a conversation about this stuff with and feel like accepted and one of the family. And in fact, her mother, who's on the other side now, came through when I was talking to a friend who is a psychic medium, because I don't do mediumship stuff. I don't do that. And she came through and I was saying, oh, she's my second mom. And you know what she said? More like your first mom. because my mom and I never had a good relationship. We were always at odds with each other because my mom was a little narcissistic and I was a really loving, kind, compassionate person from the minute I popped in here, and she was not. And so we were always butting heads because she was mean to me. She was just always mean to me and criticizing and trying to control my every move, manipulative and controlling and all that kind of thing. And so I didn't really have anybody to go to. I could talk to my grandma about stuff, but not this kind of stuff, because I didn't realize that my grandma was just like me. And so I never brought it up to her. I found out way after the fact, years later, that my grandma was just like me. I found that out. So I never really went to her and talked because I was terrified. Like, who do I talk to? They're going to think I'm crazy or whatever. I was seeing like the Grim Reaper already at age 10, that kind of thing. I was seeing, like, I don't know if that's who he was. He was like this guy in this apartment I lived in, because we were really poor. And I shared a bedroom with my brother in a 2-bedroom apartment. And this man at 3:00 in the morning, this guy would walk in the room and his face looked like a skull and he was wearing all black. It was really scary. Yeah, really scary.
How old were you when this happened?
I was probably no more than 10 at the most.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was freaking terrified. I was having panic attacks. It was really, really bad. Really bad. Yeah, I've had a lot of supernatural experiences in my life that were really, really scary. And I've had several near-death experiences where I've been to the other side and came back in again, which was kind of cool. But the thing is thanks for asking that question, because you know what? Nobody's ever asked me that. And this is the first time I'm actually discussing this with anybody. The fact that, yes, when I grew up, it was really hard. I didn't have anybody to really talk to until I was like I want to say I was like 15, 16 years old when I started hanging out with Antoinette and her family. And then they were like the first people I could literally talk to about all this stuff. And about the only other people I could talk to is I had a friend when I was like 14 who was really into witchcraft. And I could talk to her about, because I started studying what we call the occults when I was like 12 years old. And I'm not talking like satanic stuff or anything like that. I'm talking about spells and witchcraft and crystals and tarot and astrology. And I was just really curious about all that because I'm a Scorpio, and Scorpios are really attracted to anything that has to do with paranormal and supernatural and occult and all that kind of thing. So I started studying about all that. And I was a Christian, I was very, very religious. I grew up, very religious, all my life. So I wasn't going to practice any of that. I never practiced any of it. I was just curious to learn, what is it? Like, I wanted to know what makes everything tick. Like, how does magic work, and how do love spells work, and how does this work and that work, and how does tarot, like, what is it? And I studied palmistry. So like I can read people's palms and know how to do that. And, I studied all these different things because I was just fascinated with all of it. But that was before I knew who I was in previous lifetimes. Probably
did that knowing that like you didn't go tell the people at church that you were doing that, because like
they would have kicked me out. They would have thrown my ass right out of there in 5 seconds. So
that's why you knew how to keep your mouth shut, pretty much.
Yeah. So I never ever talked to anybody. Yeah. And then, I mean, the fact that like my grandparents were ultra religious people, they were very religious. And my great grandparents, everybody in our family was pretty religious. And my mom and dad, my dad was like, actually, my dad was way more religious than my mother. He was like, in church or whatever, every week he was there, and he was very, very, very religious. So yeah, it was really, really hard. And when you're a child and you have psychic abilities and nobody in your family understands about it, or, understands you, and you have nobody to talk to, what does it create? It creates super depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. And to make matters worse, I was bullied from about the age of 3 until I was out of high school. And I even got bullied a little in college too. And I even got bullied at jobs I worked at by coworkers and bosses. So yeah. So the thing is that, you have that going on. So it lowers your self-esteem, of course. And then on top of all that other stuff, so there's like nobody you can talk to because everybody's already persecuting you. I basically have like almost like this, thing of persecution. And unfortunately that came through from my last lifetime. And I've had to do a lot of healing. I had to heal myself over and over, do all kinds of shamanic work, to clear and heal past life stuff, because I was heavily persecuted in my last life when I walked with Yeshua on this planet 2000 years ago. All of our people were heavily persecuted because we were spreading Christianity. I was involved in starting the very first Christian church in Europe in my last life. Wow. I was involved in starting that. It was called The Way. It wasn't called Christianity. It was named after Yeshua being the way. He was the way, the truth, and the life. And so the first churches were
the religion was on the Bible, right?
No. But I never authored a Bible book or anything like that in that lifetime. I was really just a disciple. I was just spreading Christianity as a disciple, because he had 20 apostles, 15 of them were men, 5 of them were women. They lied about everything in the Bible. In fact, I just did a video about this, about the true story of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. It's on, I have kind of a preview of it on my YouTube, but it's on Learn It Live as a class.
I just bought the course and I cannot wait to listen to it.
Yeah, thank you. It's 2.5 hours long. I basically sat with him. So what I didn't tell your audience is, ever since I was a little child, I've been communicating directly with Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and Mother Mary. And
thank God for that.
Yeah. And I've also been able to talk to Creator, just hear Creator, just get, I have a direct uplink, what they call a clear channel, right, to Creator, to our God. And so I've been doing that since I was a little girl. And so a few weeks ago, I'll be honest, I got disgusted beyond, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. I heard yet another person do a video spreading a bunch of bullshit lies about him and about her and about their lives. And I'm like, I'm just done. I can't take this anymore. So I have memories from that lifetime. And then I sat down with the three of them and I had conversations every day for a week. Every day. I put like 25
Mother
hours.
Mary, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene. Yeah. I sat down with them and I had a conversation and I asked them all about their life and even going back in their history of their genetics. I asked them all about where they came from, who they were on both sides, who his parents were, you know, his whole life, his teachings. I got a chronology. They actually gave me a whole chronology of his life from 0 to death. Like from this year to this year, this is where he was. This is what happened from this year to this year. None of the information that I got can be found on the internet anywhere. It cannot be found in any book because the original Bibles were all destroyed by the Vatican with the Nicene Council. And Constantine, who was the first Antichrist, Emperor Constantine, he was a Draco-reptilian. And he was the first Antichrist, and they destroyed the original Bibles that were written. They burned them all. So before they did that, they took 700 books out, took the 300 or whatever that were left, and they manipulated them and they rewrote them the way they wanted to control humanity. And they put a lot of pagan stuff. They put dark magic spells in there, word spells, gematria to use it against us. They said that he had 12 apostles, which makes it a witch's coven. It's all about dark magic because a witch's coven is 12 plus a leader, which is 13. And so you have like the leader and then 12 apostles, the whole 12 apostle thing, whatever. However, Mary Magdalene did have 12 priestesses that she initiated in southern France into her order, but that had nothing to do with gematria or cabal or anything like that. That's just how many she had. But Yeshua had 20 apostles and 15 of them were female and male and 5 were female. And they changed the numbers on that. And then he had like 180 to 190 disciples. I was one of the disciples that were the people that were spreading Christianity. And all of us disciples were there when they put him up on the cross. And I've already ran into probably 30 or 40 of them that I know personally. Yeah, that all have their memories. And we sit and we compare notes and we're able to see this is what happened. This is what happened. And we're in alignment 100% on our memories of what happened. So, yeah. Yeah. And I had to do all kinds of shamanic clearing of myself because I was so heavily traumatized by that whole thing that in this life, I brought the trauma with me. And every time I turned the stinking TV on at Easter time and they were showing the Passion of the Christ and Christ being killed and dragged through the street, holding a cross and beaten and, you know, all that persecuted, I would have panic attacks and I would just break down and cry. And I would get really freaked out from post-traumatic stress disorder because I was physically there in my last human body, not in this body, in my last human body.
That was the last one. So the last time you were here
was 2,000 years ago.
Jesus get crucified.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And then I hung out in heaven for a while after that before I came back here. So
do you have any idea of how long it is? Was it really 2,000 years ago or
yes.
Do you have any? It really was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they're not lying about the time. That's a shock.
No, they're not lying about that. They're lying about the date of his birth and the date of his death. That's a lie. And they lined up the dates that they made with like pagan holidays and like Luciferian stuff. But he actually died in so you have to understand that the calendar back then was actually the Julian calendar, not the Gregorian. The Gregorian calendar that we have now was created by the cabal. It was created by a reptilian pope, Gregory or Gregorius or whatever his name was, who created it. And it was to screw all of the working people out of money and out of their time, because what happens is they shorten they made it so that you have a longer work week and you get paid like less money. It's a whole long story. There's videos on the internet explaining it all about the calendar and the Luciferian reason why they created.
They made it 12 instead of 13.
Yeah,
because originally we were on the lunar cycle.
Yes. Yeah. And the original
13 for
yeah, exactly.
They changed it to 12.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm not going to go in because I don't really know all of the reasons about that, because it's not my, how do you want to say, it's not important for me to know. I don't really know. All I know is that if you look at when he was born in our calendar now, it would be equivalent of the date of April 15. So if it was on our current calendar, his birthday is April 15. But if it was on the Julian calendar, it would have been maybe like off by like a few weeks, or it'd be off by a little bit of time. It's either, but he told me he was born under the sign of Aries.
What year?
It was prior to 2000 or 2000 years ago. So he died at age 39. So it would have been 39 years before that, I guess.
It would have been
or
like
after
39
that
BC.
Or after that, I guess. I'm sorry. Maybe it was 0 BC, because then they start the calendar at when he was born or something. I don't know how they did that. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't get caught up in that. What's important to me, he told me in 2011 that I was here to continue their teaching. So I'm supposed to be focusing on their teachings and bringing back the truth of who they were and what they were really here doing and what they were really here teaching. I'm here to restore the true information, restore the divine feminine to the planet, the divine, because I'm part of the Sisterhood of the Rose. So I'm supposed to restore that to the planet for Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, because they can't be here. If they were here, they'd be slaughtered in 5 seconds. So that's why they're not in a physical body for this ascension. They've already ascended, they've done their work, and now they're just helping us from the other side in spirit. And so
the Order of the Blue Rose.
They told me it's not called the Blue Rose. They said it was the order she started was just called the Order of the Rose. It wasn't called Blue Rose or White Rose or Gray Rose or Red Rose.
Okay, so was this the original cross?
Yes. It was
the original.
Yeah, and it represents the female yoni, the feminine, the masculine. So it's like the female vagina with the male, whatever. You've got a vagina and a penis, basically, with a thing. That's what it is. But yeah, it represents the equal weight of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and also it represents eternal life, because our soul goes on forever. So, yeah, and that was the original cross. And the Essenes, Yeshua was an Essene, and the Essenes all wore Ankhs.
Okay. The Essenes. Yeah, so I've read some of like Dolores Cannon's books.
Yeah, her books are great.
The Essenes, and that was very interesting. To learn about where Jesus grew up being taught.
Yeah, his schooling was in Qumran.
About Jesus.
Yeah, that's everything they told you was a lie.
That the crucifixion was a lie.
Yep.
Because of the way that they worship the death of Jesus, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't put it past them to make that up.
Yeah, it's a Luciferian sacrifice thing is what it's about. He didn't die for people's sins. He was murdered by the cabal because he was trying to give people, he was teaching Ascension. So this is what he told me. I started crying because it was channeled through me. I was up speaking last week at a metaphysical group meeting with all these people that are into metaphysics, and I was talking about this book, and I was channeling what I was saying. Like, I came there not knowing what I was going to say, and most of it was like channeling. And the one thing that came through is he was the first teacher of Ascension 101. He was trying to teach every human on earth how to ascend. He was, and that's why he channeled that book to me. 70% of the info in the book came from him. 30% came from me, my own experience and knowledge. And it's because he was the one teaching everybody how to ascend back then. And that's the true purpose of why he came to earth, was to abolish all religions, because the Jewish religion was created by the cabal to control people. Muslim and Christianity, those 3 religions were all created to control the masses. That's what those were all about. The Hindu, Buddhist, all that, those aren't like a doctrine and dogma religion. Okay, doctrine and dogma are only specific to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And that's all about controlling and manipulating humans. It has nothing to do with spirit or spirituality whatsoever. Spirituality is our direct connection to God who created us, and our direct connection to our higher self, our soul, our inner compass, our guides and angels, and the angelic beings who help us. And the practices that you do to connect with those beings is spirituality. That's what spirituality is. I did a whole video on my YouTube channel explaining that, the difference between religion and spirituality. And religion is just all about controlling people, dogma and doctrine. And Yeshua came here to abolish all of that. That's why he was turning tables over in the temple. He was a badass. He was a badass warrior. He had no fear. And he didn't let anyone, that's how he was wound up on that cross, because he was a badass. You know, they weren't going to stop him. And he wanted every person on earth to go direct to God. This whole thing of you're forgiven for your sins, that's a lie. You're actually not. You're not forgiven for when you're being an asshole until you actually have a conversation with your creator and say, God, I am so sorry for offending you or any of your children. Please forgive me. And from this moment, I promise I will be kind, loving, compassionate, forgiving all the things that Christ taught and exemplified. I will be that. And then you have to turn your ass around and turn your life around. And then you are forgiven by God's grace. But Yeshua did not come to die as a sacrificial lamb. The whole Lamb of God thing is a whole Luciferian thing because they're sacrificing.
Did he come to teach us that he was the answer? Like Jesus is the answer?
No, his information was the answer. No, he never taught that. He never told anybody you have to go through him. He never said that. What he said.
That's what they make you believe, that Jesus is the answer.
Yeah, he's not the answer. He's called the way because he's showing the way. He was a way shower and a light worker, just like you are, just like I am. We're here guiding the way. He was guiding the way to ascension. He was teaching people what they needed to do to ascend. And that is it in a nutshell.
And teaching them that they had the direct connection themselves.
They have the direct connection.
Like he has a direct connection. We have the direct connection.
Right. The biggest term for everyone who's watching to remember is the word sovereignty. The cabal took away everybody's sovereignty and free will. And he was trying to restore that because nobody should take away your power. You are a sovereign being. And he was here to restore the sovereignty. They didn't want that. They wanted everyone enslaved. They wanted everyone enslaved forever. And they didn't like that he was teaching people how to think for themselves and how to go direct to God and how to get answers for themselves and how to, he was
bypass the religion,
bypass their stinking system.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they didn't like that. And so Ascension 101, do you want me to talk about what Ascension really is so people can understand?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, because I know that there's just a lot of people that don't even know what it means.
Yeah. So basically what it means is your soul. So every soul has 4 purposes, which I talk about in the book. I have a chapter in the book on your life purpose versus like your life missions and stuff like that. Your soul has 4 purposes, which are to be love, to connect with God and get closer and closer to God, to learn lessons, of course, and then my brain's blanking out on the 4th, but it's in there. But basically those are your soul purpose, and every soul has and to ascend, of course. So those are the four things. So ascending means you're going up through the density of consciousness levels is what it means. So for example, our planet was lowered down by the cabal. It used to be 26,000 years ago. This whole earth was the Garden of Eden when Atlantis was here. The whole earth was the Garden of Eden, not one place on earth. The whole earth was Eden. Okay. Then Lucifer showed up and destroyed the whole place with his minions and the Draco reptilian and all that. And Lucifer and Enki are the same guy, by the way. He's the guy who edited our DNA and got rid of our 12 strands down to 2. So we get sick and die and suffer. So all the demons can suck our loosh and drain all of our loosh of suffering and fear and grief and all that kind of stuff. So basically we were originally a 5 density and higher planet. There were beings living on Earth that were anywhere from 5th density love conscious, which is a love consciousness, on up to like 9th density. There were Arcturians living here and Syrians living here. The Mer people were from Sirius B. There were Pleiadians here. There were Lyrans here. All of those people lived here in peace. They all lived in peace and harmony. And then there were humans, the first humans that were here as well. And they all lived in peace together. what happened is Lucifer showed up and they destroyed Atlantis. He took the humans and he downgraded them to 2-strand DNA activation instead of all 12 strands and higher. And he downgraded us from crystalline life forms that never die, never get sick, never die, to these carbon-based life forms that get sick and suffer and die. And so what happens is every 26,000 years, a planet or star system, our whole star system's ascending. So every 26,000 years, a solar system or whatever gets to ascend. And we're at that point right now where we are getting a window where we get to, the planet is going to 5D again, and all of the humans are going to follow along here pretty soon. And what's going to complete that off is the solar flash, the great solar flash that will hit sometime between now and 2024. It has to hit by 2024 because 2024 to 2044 in Chinese astrology and in other ancient things is going to be 20 years or whatever of this beautiful prosperity and golden age kind of a thing where we're creating all these wonderful new systems and everything. So
why does it have to happen by 2024?
It has to, because it was set up. Well, there's a lot of reasons why. So number one is because the solar flash was already created to hit. It's coming from the central sun and coming from the divine mother of the universe, basically the divine source of the universe. It was set up to like launch at a certain pace, and what will happen is it's got to do its thing by a certain date. It's almost like it's like a program that's running, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I'm not an analytical person. I'm a right brain creative. So the best way I can analytically describe it is it's like an AI program, but it's not an AI program.
But because it's
like a program.
Cyclical nature.
Yeah, it's a cyclical nature that this thing happens. They talked about it in ancient manuscripts in the Bhagavad Gita or whatever it is, in like ancient Babylon, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient the Druids, the the Mayans, all these different cultures all talked about it. In the ancient Hindu, they called it the Samvardika fire. The Samvardika fire, where this whole, the sun basically blasts the earth with this whole cleansing, and it cleanses and purges all of the bad crap off the planet. And there's nothing to be fearful about it unless you are a bad and evil person, because what is going to happen when this thing hits, because I was shown this 15 years ago, okay, in a vision, that these ETs came here and the earth is like, yeah, and the earth was like flooded, because I get future visions all the time. And so I don't share them on social media a lot, because then people like hold you to dates, and I can't give dates. I'm not able to. I just know this is what's coming soon. I don't know when. But I was shown 15 years ago that this thing, and it was involving extraterrestrials that were loving extraterrestrials, good ones. And then it's almost like a scanning thing that goes across it's almost like it scans all of the people on the planet, and the people who are below a love density of 528 hertz. So people who are in fear, narcissists, killers, rapists, pedophiles, traffickers, drug sales, bad people, mean people, nasty people, hateful people, racists, all the racists, they literally get obliterated. Their body like turns to dust in the wind, like the song Dust in the Wind. They actually become dust in the wind, but their soul gets scraped the same way they've been doing to us. Because what they've been doing to us, they put us into a quarantine, and they put this false matrix around the planet, where they were trapping our souls for thousands of years. So when you died, you would go to the light, and it was false light. You never actually ever went to heaven. Your soul got put in a box, and then you were thrown back into another body, and you did it again. And I'm not saying I wasn't part of that. It's the human souls that were here on earth. The star seeds came here to rescue those people. We came here from outside to rescue those people. So the human people were trapped in a soul trap for thousands of years by these psychopaths.
So and is there no heaven? Is there no one in heaven? Is this what you're saying?
No, heaven is full of beings, because one thing I said is heaven, the people in heaven, I just posted about this on Facebook about heaven. Heaven is existing in 7 dimension. So dimension and density are two different things. And I need to explain this to your audience because there's a lot of confusion. So density is a consciousness level. We are going from a third density fear consciousness on earth to a fifth density and higher love consciousness. Okay. And dimension is a location. Our planet is located in third dimension, and planets are all located in universes, and even parallel universes are all in third dimension. The reason why is because the third dimension was created as a classroom for souls to go to learn. I wanted to originally call my book Classroom Earth, Making the Grade. Yeah,
because I just read that because I was reading your book.
Yeah. And so we came here to learn lessons, and you incarnate. Your home is actually heaven, which is in seventh dimension. It's located in seventh dimension. This is your school. And all of those extraterrestrials that are helping us, they're also stuck with us in the third dimension because they're also learning lessons. You get reincarnated as a Pleiadian or a Lyran or this or that or an Andromedan or a Venusian. You can be anywhere on any planet. All these planets are colleges. Think of it as Cambridge over here and USC over there and Cal Poly over here and New York City U or whatever it is, NYU. They're all just colleges. You say, okay, I'm going to go to Venus in this life. And then in this life, I'm going to Earth. And then in this life, I'm coming back to Earth. And it's just all lessons that we're learning as a soul, because the main purpose of your soul is to learn. That is the main purpose of your soul, to learn and advance and to grow. And so the thing is the other dimension. So there's 22 dimensions total. That is what Yeshua told me. There are 22 dimensions and there are 13 densities. The angels are 12th and 13th density. Okay, so angels and what are called celestial beings. Celestial beings were the first creator gods that God created, that went out and created all of the universes, because God itself didn't create the universes. God broke off and split off into these celestial beings beneath him, like these lower, like creator gods. And then they went out into space and time and created stuff. They created it so that God can have unique ways of expressing itself. We are all a unique expression of God. I have an entire chapter in Ascension 101 explaining what God really is, because all of you people have been fooled for a long time. So if you want to know what God really is, you have to read the book, because it tells you, and it's a whole chapter on it. But if I want to sum it up into one sentence, I'd say God is the energy, frequency, and vibration of unconditional love and creation. It just never stops creating. It creates and it creates, which is why God wouldn't sacrifice its son. That's such a bunch of bullshit, saying God sacrificed his son. God never sacrificed his son. No way in hell would God do that. The cabal murdered him. Plain out. That's it. It's so simple. It's ridiculous. He was murdered by evil reptilians. Okay, people, get it straight. He didn't die for your sins. You have to be accountable. So in order to ascend to what's called the 5D love consciousness, guess what the number one rule is?
Love.
Yeah, that's number one. Well, then guess what number two is? Because love, you have to be a loving, compassionate, kind, decent person. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you have to be fully accountable for all your behavior, and you have to pay the price yourself. That means if you say, I believe in this guy, therefore I'm excused for all of my sins, I call bullshit on that. You're the only person accountable for those sins. Some guy who was murdered on a cross, which really happened, he's not accountable for your sins. You're the one who did he go and slap his wife and beat his children and kick his dog? Did he go sell drugs?
Oh, Jesus said I can come in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no,
it makes no sense.
No, it's bullshit, and more bullshit. The fact of the matter is that in order to ascend, you need to be accountable for your own stinking behavior and stinking thinking and stinking words that come out of your mouth. Every time you speak negativity or you think negativity, it lowers your vibration and makes your body sick, gives you heart disease and cancers and all kinds of stuff. I'm a medical intuitive. I can sit here and tell which chakras people have blocked, and based on what they have blocked, what all their health conditions are, and pinpoint everything right on. And people freak out every time. How are you able to do that? It's like, Well, it's easy because all your emotional crap goes in there, and that's what's causing 98% of your illness. It's really simple. There's a book called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce H. Lipton that explains the epigenetics of all of this. The whole system, that your thoughts, your beliefs, and the way you speak, all of that impacts your whole body, your soul, everything.
So accountability, is really important because
yes,
we can change everything with accountability. And
absolutely.
That's the problem is we keep, outsourcing our power. No one's taking accountability. Look what we've ended up with. Look at what we have now. So
right. And the blaming game.
Accountable.
Yeah. And the victim thing, all the people walking around, oh, I'm such a victim and so-and-so's fault. I'm like this. I could walk around and be a total bitch right now and say, well, it's all those kids' fault in school because they were bullying me. But I choose to not be a victim, and I choose to look at it as it was a learning experience, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I've become a really strong warrior as a result of my background. I'm not a victim, I'm a warrior. And so people need to get out of the victim mentality. They need to get out of the blaming of other people. You need to take full accountability and power for yourself, for your actions. Everything that's happened in your life, you actually are responsible for orchestrating all of that based on your behavior, because we manifest everything. We are creators, which is why the Draco reptilians and the Greys are not able to create. They don't have the ability to create. So what do? They put Hollywood movies up showing the future they want you to have so that you will go create that. So when you focus on zombie apocalypse, you're going to make zombie apocalypse happen because you're focusing on that. And we are all powerful creators. We're all manifesting and creating with our thoughts and our mouths. Yeah. So
I saw recently someone try to create that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they did. They tried to create
zombie
it on
apocalypse.
Yeah, so Chelsea and I were kind of laughing earlier about the fact that the certain guy came onto a video on YouTube and he's got 100,000 plus followers who are listening, sit there and say, on the 3rd of September, 5G technology is going to turn on and everybody who got a vax is going to basically turn on you and try to kill you.
And then,
and it's going to be the rapture, and we're all going to be raptured up in ships so they can't kill us. And okay.
I had a lot of people really freaking out. Honestly, there's a lot of people like, ask him about this. Everybody wants to know, what's your opinion on the September 3rd rapture?
Yeah, it's all fear. It's fear porn, and it's being put into the collective to take our vibration down. And all of these videos that every one of you watch blocks your ascension. In order to ascend, you have to be at 528 love hertz frequency or higher. Every time you watch negative videos, you're being dragged down into 400 and 300 level, and you won't be ascending. Also, if you're mean and nasty and competitive, or you think you know it all, like, I don't think I know anything. I think I know a tiny bit of what's in the universe. I'm a teacher, but I'm forever a student. As long as my soul exists, I will be learning. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I screw up. I'm always accountable for my stupidness, always accountable. I don't walk around thinking I'm higher and mightier than anyone else. The people who think they're better than others, smarter than others, yada, trying to compete with others, they cannot ascend until you get rid of, and I have a whole chapter on this in my book, the shadow side, that's your shadow self, all the negative aspects of your ego, jealousy, sloth, competitiveness, greed, worshiping money. All of these things, if you don't heal those and go to the light, go to the light warrior, Jedi school, which is focusing on what you want to create and all the positive and being loving, kind, compassionate, and forgiving to everybody. But first with yourself, you need to be loving, kind, compassionate, forgiving to yourself, and then with everyone else. If you don't do these things right this minute now and keep doing it, I'm sweating. I have the sun shining in my window here, and it's like I'm getting a heat bath.
You don't look sweaty.
Yeah. I'm just like sweating. My hair is like sticking to my forehead. If you don't do these things now, you're not going to ascend. And the thing is we don't know when that flash is going to hit. It could hit in 5 minutes from now. It could hit in 2 years from now. But it's going to hit soon. And when it hits, there's going to be no time for you to fix your stupid ways. If you don't get right with God right now, if you don't have a coming to God moment and say, Father, I am so sorry I sinned against you and your people, and that I hurt people and that I abuse my body with drugs and alcohol. I didn't do that. I've never done that, but other people have done that kind of thing. If they don't apologize and they don't straighten their act up like now, then when that thing comes, they're going to be going, guess where? Off this planet. The rapture is the opposite. It's all of the dark souls being raptured off the planet. The meek will inherit the earth. That's what Christ told me. He told me this 4 years ago when he told me to write this book. I didn't want to write another book. I had my other book. It was a bestseller. It almost caused me a divorce. It took me 5 years to write that book, and my family all wanted to divorce me over it. It was pretty bad, even my kids. And I told Yeshua, I'm never writing another book again. And then he came in and told me I had to write this. And I'm like, no. And I argued with him for an hour. And he's like, you don't understand. This event is happening and you need to help people. You need to help people. He said, that's why you volunteered to come here, Kimberly. You need to step up to the plate and do this now. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I wrote this book, and I argued with him literally for like a whole hour about back and forth. I don't want to write a book. I don't want to write a book, and it's just like, I'm done writing books. So sure enough, I wrote this book. The fact of the matter is, if you don't change your ways right now, when the big event happens, the meek will inherit the earth. Who's the meek? The people who are loving, kind, compassionate, forgiving, have atoned for their sins. They've gone to God and they've said, okay, I screwed up. I'm really sorry. And I promise I will be a good person from this point forward.
Okay, so this part doesn't make sense a little bit to me, because I was learning about the Gnostics and stuff, and a lot of them, they didn't believe in sin. Sin was just to miss the mark. When I think about, okay, if I was God, how would I do it? I wouldn't make a group of people and then make a set of rules and then make a punishment if they don't follow my rules.
So you are correct. You are correct. And can I explain about that?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. The whole concept of sinning was made up by the Catholic Church to make money off of people. There's no such thing as sinning. Okay. You're either a good person or a bad person. The people, I guess I should state it this way because I forgot, my brain went into ADD mode. Sorry, you guys, I have ADD. Attention deficit. You have to be 51% or more service to others in order to ascend. Okay. So what does that mean? If you swore at your brother today, you're not going to go to hell and you're not going to get raptured off the planet. Okay. If you fell off the wagon and you start binge drinking again, you're not going to get kicked off the planet. You have to be a narcissist, a killer, a murderer, a mean person to get sucked off the planet. Okay. What will happen to you though, is the people who are doing those stupid things. Like, let's say I'm mostly a nice person, but then some of the time I'm a bitch. I won't get raptured off the planet. What will happen is I will only go to 4D and I will be stuck there until I heal my shit. Okay. So the people who are, when the solar flash comes, all of the people who have done all of their work on themselves. So like myself, I've been doing shadow work, dark night of the soul crap, all of my traumas, all my childhood traumas, everything. I've been clearing this stuff for 30 plus years. Okay. For a long time. So when the flash comes, I will go to 5D and higher. Okay. The people who are 51% or more service to others, but they still are kind of buttholes sometimes, they will still be here, but they're not going to 5D. They're going to go to 4D until they do their work. So they'll go to 4D. And when they go to 4D, what will happen is they'll wake up. They're going to totally wake up and go, oh my God, I've been such a dumbass. Now what do I do? And then guess what you and I get to do? We are going to be here. That's why we're light workers and way showers. We're going to hold their hand. We're going to counsel them. We're going to teach them. We're all the teachers. We're the ones that are going to help all the people who go to 4D. We're going to help them to go to 5D. Okay. How are we going to do that? We're going to teach them how to deal with their past life trauma, their childhood trauma, their narcissism, whatever it is going on, their need to always be right all the time, whatever it is, whatever crap they're doing, their drug addiction, whatever. Just because somebody's a drug addict doesn't mean they'll get booted off the planet. The question is that person who's a drug addict good or evil? When we say evil, it means they're mostly service to self. Okay. If they're mostly service to self and they'd like kill their neighbor's dog in 5 seconds, they're going out of here. They're gone. The people who the term sin is a bunch of bullshit, because you're not born a sinner. You are born with free will to make choices to be nice or to be shitty. If you choose to be shitty and do stupid things, it's not sinning. It's just choosing to do stupid things. That's all it is. And it's a choice people make. And then they have to pay the price, because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. And whatever you do or say goes into the universal boomerang and comes right back at you. So how we are being held accountable right now going forward, and this started back in 2012 when they took away the Lords of Karma, they took away karma. Now, and I talked about this in the book, there is no more karma. What it is now is every action that you do from this point forward will immediately boomerang back at you. So if you're a dick to somebody, then when you get in your car and you drive down the street, somebody's going to cut you off. Or if you slap somebody, somebody's going to slap you. It's going to come back to you like either immediately or soon. Or if you're really horrible to somebody, you may get cancer and die. Because what will happen is the negative energy you put into the universe boomerang is going to come back to you, and that's how you're being held accountable. So what you need to do is you need to be a kind, nice, loving, compassionate person from this point forward, no matter what it takes. And if you've made stupid choices like, oh, when I was a teenager, I slept around. I've heard this. This is stuff. I didn't do that, but I've heard this from clients. Oh, I used to be a drug addict. Oh, I used to do cocaine. I used to sleep around with everybody. So what are you doing right now in this moment? Say sorry to God. Say, God, I'm sorry for making dumbass choices. From this point forward, I'm going to do my best to be a nice person and move on. That's all this is about. The sinning thing was all made up to be a business enterprise. Because back in the day, if you were a sinner, you had to pay the church with either your animal, you had to give them food, you had to give them animals, your crops, your gold, your incense, your myrrh, your oils, your healing stuff, or you had to give them clothes, or you had to give them your firstborn. So you had to give the church something, sometimes land, to atone for your sins. It was a big business. It's a big corporation. The Vatican's a corporation. So the Vatican made up this whole concept of Christ dying for your sins so they could turn that into a big money-making operation, because now there's all these sinners and he died for your sins. So now you have to go to the church and you have to pay penance. Every time you have sins, you had to pay penance. You had to pay with coin, or you had to pay with bread from your bakery, or whatever. You had to give the church whatever you had to pay penance. Okay.
It's like tax collectors. It's basically like the mafia.
It's the mafia. Exactly. It is.
Mafia
It's always been. Yeah, it is. It's basically the mafia. And, that's kind of a funny concept, because I went to Italy 4 years ago. I was a travel agent for a while, and I led a tour group around Italy. I speak some Italian, and I led a tour group around Italy. And when I went there, what happened is we went to, what's it called? Naples. And Naples is a really dangerous place, because that's where all the mobster action happens. And so they have Naples divided into different, area, like neighborhoods. They have them into different neighborhoods, and each neighborhood has a crime boss, has a mafia boss that's over the top of that neighborhood, and they all war with each other. And if you are in that neighborhood, you go to the crime boss and you have to pay them money to protect you. If you don't pay them for protection, they come and they break your legs, or they chop off fingers or arms or hands or feet or whatever they chop off, and they may even kill you if you don't pay them, or they burn your business down. So anyone who has a business in Naples, Italy, that's in these neighborhoods with all of these mafia lords,
still to this day,
Yeah, to this day, this was happening. We had to have guards with us to go to the damn museum because we went to Pompeii, and the museum that houses all of the stuff from Pompeii is right in the middle of the nasty crime boss area. So we had to have security with us the whole time, and we were told not to look at anyone on the street, not to talk to anyone, to stay in the group, not to stray from the group. I mean, it was really, I was actually scared for my life. I was actually scared. And we were told to mind our P's and Q's. And then, and the same when we came back out of the museum, it was like we just walked into the museum and then we walked out, and we had to be really, really careful because it's so dangerous there.
Do you have a special connection to Greece?
Kind of. Why?
Well, I think you mentioned on the last video you made that like one of these towns in Greece, is like one of the Greek Isles where like people live for a long time. And I just heard you talking about Greece, and I'm obsessed. Like Santorini.
Yeah. I've been
amazing.
obsessed since I was a little girl. Have you?
Yes.
Is that
the island you were talking about?
No, I don't know the name of it. It's a tiny little island. It's not as big. It's not an island where tourists go. It's not a tourism island.
I was just thinking like,
yeah,
you look kind of Greek, and you kind of like seem like Greek person.
Yeah, well, I'm not Greek, but God, my hair is just such a mess. I'm having a bad hair day, just so you know. My ancestry is I'm a Heinz 57 European mutt mixture. I'm a mix of a lot of different European countries. So yeah, so I've got Spanish from Spain. I've got Holland Dutch in me with redhead Vikings in my family. I've got Austrian. My father's father was from Austria. My father's mother was from Poland. And then my mother's family was a combination of Russian, Scandinavian, and Spanish. So yeah, so that's my background. But as far as Greece goes, I was in Greece in a past life. So I want to definitely go back there again. I am very intrigued with it because of past, lifetimes and stuff. But the islands, I will tell you all that the island of Crete, it's really pronounced Crete, but they spell it, but Americans call it Crete, Crete, but it's really Kriti. So the island of Crete is Archangel Raphael's retreat in the higher dimensions. So that means if you were in a higher dimension or density, like a higher density, if you were not a third density person, if you were a 12th density person, you'd be having a conversation with Archangel Raphael on the island of Crete. So yeah, because that's where his retreat is. And Archangel Michael's retreat is Lake Louise, Banff, British Columbia.
Really?
Yeah, which is why I love that area so much. I'm like really I'm really infatuated with that area because I love Michael. So it's
that's really interesting. Yeah. I'm glad I asked you about that. And I can just see it now because Crete is like there's like that big, huge, tall, and it's really skinny, and there's a beach that goes like that. It's almost like a little like semicircle Lego shape, and I can just see Raphael chilling on the beach.
Yeah, well, here's what's interesting is all kinds of healers and light workers offer all sorts of meditation and healing retreats all over Crete. Crete has the healing energy there is over the top healing energy. And the other thing is I found out from Jenny Lee, I think it was, or somebody like that, who's a remote viewer or psychic, that there are two big, huge pyramids under the water right at the end of the island of Crete.
Oh, wow.
That are connected to the grid lines that are those spaceship pyramids. They're saying now that they're actually spaceships and that they were built out in space and brought here. That's what I think Jenny Lee was telling everyone. But I don't know too much about that because it hasn't been something I wanted to research to find out that much about. But there are two pyramids under the water near the island of Crete, which just blows my mind. That absolutely blows my mind. So there's a lot going on in Greece. There's also Delphi, which was where the Oracle of Delphi came from, and I really want to go there. I know for a fact my daughter was one of those oracles in a past life. There were several people who were the oracle. It got passed down. There were a lot of oracles. It wasn't just one oracle. Everybody thinks there was just one person who was the oracle. That's not true. There were many oracles and it got, went down for many generations. But in one of my daughter's past lives, she was an oracle of Delphi. So yeah.
That's super cool. I had a question. You had something here. You have different definitions for ascension. And then, okay, so on page 17, it says, the awakening of humanity is happening right now in exponential rates. Before the COVID-19 pandemic in January 2020, the number of people awake on the planet was at approximately 3%. As I write this book in May in 2020, the number of people awake on the planet is close to 9%. If you thought it was close to 9% in May of 2020, what do you think? Where do you think it would be now?
I haven't asked in a while. So can I ask right now? Do you mind?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm going to connect and ask. Okay.
Okay.
So Yeshua, if you want to help me out here, what percent of the humans on planet Earth are awake right now? 25%.
Really?
25%.
That's really good.
Yeah. 25%.
That's really big.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad I asked, because I was hoping for a 13 or something, but
yeah, no, it's 25. And when I say awake, I don't mean totally awake, like they know everything I know, like they're not spiritually awake and they're politically awake to what is going on. The fact that the governments are all evil, that the New World Order, they know about the New World Order. They know about the trafficking. They know about all the politicians being evil. They know about the 5G. They know about the medical system being correct. They know about all the systems that are bad, the bad education system, but they may not be spiritually awake. 25% are not spiritually awake, but they are awake to the fact that they're stuck in a matrix with all of these bad systems. So there's 25% of the humans that know that now. So yeah.
There was also something that you brought up recently, that as far as like the cabal, can I say that? I don't even know. That 80% of them are taken care of. But we're still got a good 20% left.
Yes. So thank you.
They're hiding.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at on that.
Yeah, we have 20. Okay, so I asked Yeshua several days ago, I said, what percent of the bad guys have been removed? And when I said bad guys, I said specifically, because I have to be specific when I ask questions. So I said, what percentage of the cabal and all their minions and the Draco reptilians have been removed from the planet? And they said 80%. But they said, unfortunately, the 20% that are here can still do a lot of damage. That's what they said. Yeah. So we have to keep praying for them to get removed. And it's because the reptilians that are still here are shapeshifters, and it's real easy for them to hide. And they do their shapeshifting. So I don't know if you guys know this, but reptilians aren't all able to just shapeshift. In order to shapeshift, you have to eat a live human being, or you have to drink adrenochrome. And the adrenochrome keeps them shapeshifting longer. They makes them shapeshift for a longer period of time. So not all of the reptilians on the planet that have been living under the grounds and the tunnels forever, like thousands of years, actually 11,500 years ago or more is when they came here. They were underground, and most of them are just reptile. They look like they do, and they're not able to change or hide or disguise themselves. They just look like they do. What enables them to shapeshift is eating live humans and drinking blood, basically drinking, especially adrenochrome. It allows them to shapeshift for a longer period of time.
Okay. Is there positive? I mean, is there like positive shapeshifting?
So there are reptilians that are positively polarized, as we call them, meaning that they're on the white hat side. So there are some reptilians who have come to the good side because they're kind of been enslaved by their own people, because they have different ranks within the reptilians, and the ones who have actually been enslaved by the cabal ones at the top, the ones that are like the cabal are like the big badasses up at the top. There's ones in the lower ranks that are tired of their bullshit, who have turned on them and are helping the good guys, the good ETs.
But there's so like the bad people can shapeshift and the good people can shapeshift too.
Yeah, they can, but in order to do it, they would have to do really nasty things like eat a live human or drink some blood in order to do it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I asked because Jason Shirka talks about this, and he's apparently people in the light system that can do this shape-shifting, and I don't know.
Let me put it this way. People who are really good can typically not shapeshift unless they are a trained shaman. So like, for example, I know Native American shaman and South American shaman who can shapeshift. And I know Aborigine shaman who can shapeshift. And I know, and there's also some, what they call like witch doctors and stuff in Africa that can also shapeshift. Okay. But they're using.
So it's not all nefarious.
Not anyone not everybody who shapeshifts is nefarious.
Okay. That's what I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. People who are really powerful beings, like think of Merlin, somebody like that, who was a good guy. He was a good wizard. They can shapeshift because they have the powers, like they've mastered the power that Yeshua was here wielding, that kind of power. He could shapeshift if he wanted to. He didn't, but he could have. So if you have those, you have to be a master of alchemy to shapeshift. Shapeshifting is basically a form of alchemy, because alchemy is turning one thing into another thing. So like turning a rock into gold, or turning one fish into 500 fishes, which is what Yeshua was doing. He was doing alchemy. And so somebody who's a master alchemist could probably shapeshift themselves. The question is, how long can they do it for? It may not be for very long. It might be a very temporary amount of time. These reptilians who do this, they're doing it every day for weeks and years on end, but they're doing it by having a fresh supply of adrenochrome every day. That's how they're doing it. So like, even if a Native American shapeshifted, they would do it for a really quick, a shaman, Native American shaman, let's say he wanted to turn into a bear or a wolf, which some of them can do. It would be for a very short period of time, very quick, very short, because of the power involved in that and the energy involved. It could literally kill that person. Like that shaman could die because they're expending so much energy, but a reptilian, and I'm not going to name the name. Let's just say there's a certain female that's in politics who's an expert shapeshifter, and then another one who's a royal who's an expert shapeshifter. They do that, and they look the same. They look like humans for long periods of time because they have fresh supplies of the blood and all that going on continuously. So that's how they're able to do that. Yeah, the people who shapeshift that are good people, it would be a very temporary thing. So it would be very quick.
I don't know if I can tell the universe, but I would like the power to make myself invisible sometimes.
I would too.
I think that would be a really cool superpower.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have it in my dreams all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like a master of being invisible in my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've been having some crazy dreams. So you, on the bottom of page 19, I was loving this paragraph last night, and it was making a lot of sense. Can I just read this paragraph? It's about, the masculinity and the feminine. There should be a balance of both feminine and masculine energy on this planet, the yin and the yang. Preferably, there should be more feminine than masculine, 60 to 70% feminine, and 30 to 40% masculine energy. So that's where we should be. 60 to 70% feminine and 30 to 40% masculine. But right now we are, however, in recent times, in the masculine energy on earth has been 95% and feminine energy only 5%. So we live in a man's world. I think it's pretty clear, and it's been clear, and it's a 95% men and 5% women.
Who do you think wrote that Bible? And who do you think authored every religion and wrote the Bible?
Men.
All men, and women were treated like crap. Women had no place in there.
The Marys and they just, Totally.
Yeah, those are the same evil men who called Mary Magdalene a prostitute. She was not a prostitute. She was very wealthy. Her family were entrepreneurs, and they were merchants, and they were extremely wealthy, and they were actually noble people, and they came from a very noble bloodline. And she was never a prostitute. And her and Yeshua actually married in secret when she was 18 and he was 20 up in northeastern India. So they married in secret. They kept their marriage a secret till he left the earth. The only people who knew were the apostles and the Essenes and the people closest to them, because the cabal would have murdered her too. They would have tortured and murdered her and put her up on a cross too, if they knew she was his twin flame and that she had the same superpowers he had and she was able to do all the same stuff he did. They would have lynched her ass and they would have hung her up on a cross too. So it was kept secret.
So the Bible, the wedding that they attended in the Bible where Jesus turned water into wine,
it's probably his own wedding.
That's what Ishmael says. And I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I
Ishmael,
think it was
like,
his own wedding
that
that they were referring to. I think he was referring to his own wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. But Ishmael thinks that that Jesus was like, they healed him and he actually lived a long life.
No,
but we all have differences, but there are a lot of people.
I'm not in agreement with that because I was there physically, and all the people who were there with me who have their memories know that didn't happen. We all know the same. We all can compare notes because we were physically there. Ishmael was not there with us.
That would be so interesting to get another person and to like just stream a conversation of life.
I actually asked Yeshua. I like Ishmael. Don't get me wrong. I like him and I agree. I mean, I have the right to disagree with, overall, I like him. I think his information's fantastic, but there's a few things I disagree with that he says, just like, there's a lot of other people on YouTube who I agree with most of their info, but there's a few things I'm not in agreement with. And one of them is that, and I asked Yeshua if Ishmael, I'm like, how in the heck would he know? Was he there with us? Because I don't remember him. And he said, no, he was not there. So if he's getting info, I don't know where he's getting his info from, because it's not coming from his memory, because he was not there. So, but everybody I know who was there, lots of my very close friends, actually, we sit around and we blab about it all the time. Oh, I remember this. I remember that. And we all remember the same thing exactly, word for word, like what happened.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that we're all just talking about possibilities. Like, I don't know, like I was thinking maybe it is possible that Jesus wasn't crucified. He was
just
because of the way that they flaunt his death and show his naked body in a church. It always made me so uncomfortable to look at that.
Purposely to traumatize everyone. That's created to traumatize everybody.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they've murdered all kinds of people in history. Why him in particular did they do that? It's just all about traumatizing people. I mean, they burned on Friday the 13th in the year 1310 or something like that. They took Jacques de Molay and all of the Templars, like 60 of them or more, and they murdered them all. Who do you think did that? The Vatican. The Vatican murdered all the Templars.
Okay, now, Kim, now you hit a little, Kimberly, you hit a little spot, because Ishmael claims that his last life was Jacques de Molay.
I wouldn't be if he was Jacques de Molay okay. So I asked Yeshua about, because I had to check in. Okay. So just so you know, I'm a human lie detector and I can see people's souls and I can read people. I do soul readings for my clients and I read all kinds of info and I can ask all about their past lives, who they were, all of that kind of stuff. And so I actually did a psychic check on Ishmael to find out who he is, if he's legit or not. And yes, he was a Templar. Absolutely. And that is why he's a warrior. He's a badass warrior. That's what I have to say about him. He's a badass warrior, but he is a Templar and my family is very tied to that whole thing. And yeah. And my husband, his family on his bloodline, my husband's bloodline is actually descended from Templars. So
well, I don't even know who that. I haven't had time to research Jacques de Molay, but
I can tell you who his name is pronounced Jacques de Molay. Jacques de Molay. And because I speak, je parle français, so I speak French too. I speak 8 languages. So, and I'm going to go back to France again. I've already been there, but I'm going to go back again, hopefully next year sometime. I can't wait. I'm excited. And I'm actually going to go to all the old Templar forts. I'm going to go to all the Templar fortresses and all the Cathar villages in southern France where they all lived. So those were the first.
So cool.
Yeah. So the Templars were the first bankers, but they also idolized Mary Magdalene. They kind of served Mary Magdalene. They're kind of like in service to her. And they knew the whole truth about the Catholic Church and the truth about Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, and they were protecting the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail was not a cup. Let's see. Oh, I don't have it here, but if I change screens, I have a picture of Mary Magdalene holding the Holy Grail, and she's holding a cup in her hand because she was the Grail. She basically, and I talk about this in my whole video, my class that I have. So I have a teaching class up about the whole story of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, but Mary Magdalene was the Grail, and the Knight Templars were protecting the bloodline of Christ. That's what they were protecting, was the bloodline of Christ. And your friend Ishmael
pretty much
was one of them.
Taken over.
So the Catholic Church put them all to death because they wanted all of the treasure, because the Templars were the richest people in the world. They had all the gold because they were the bankers back then. So they would do stuff for people, and people would pay them with gold and goblets and jewels and stuff like that. And they were the bankers in Jerusalem or wherever. And they were also protecting the Holy Lands. They were protecting the Holy Lands. They were protecting the artifacts, like the what do they call it? The Ark of the Covenant and all of the ancient artifacts that were really powerful. The Templars were protecting that. Okay. And so I've been obsessed with the Templars since I was a little girl, for a lot of reasons I'm not going to get into. Probably has something to do with my ancestors that came from Spain. Let's just put it that way. Anyways, but yeah, it's in my DNA, the Templar thing, I think, is in my DNA, but I've always been obsessed with them. But the fact of the matter is the Templars were protecting the bloodline of Christ. They paid homage to Mary Magdalene. They were almost like in service to her. Like she was almost like their goddess or whatever. It's not that they worshiped her like God. It's that they esteemed her the way the Catholics esteem Mother Mary. They esteemed Mary Magdalene that way. Like she was very highly esteemed. And they were the first bankers, basically, and the Catholic Church wanted all of their loot. They wanted all of their stuff, all the money, all the loot they had. They also wanted to kill them because they knew the fact that the Vatican was Luciferian. They knew that they were doing blood sacrificing. They knew all of the secrets of the Vatican that are really evil, horrible secrets. The Templars knew the truth about all of it. They knew all of it. They also knew about the original Bibles and how they were destroyed. They knew all the ancient mystery school stuff, all of the
Weren't they destroyed? Didn't like the Vatican, or didn't they like have all these bad fires and the Templars had to grow underground or something? And then they went into hiding.
I don't remember about that. I mean, that could have happened. I don't remember that. I know they had to go into hiding. The Templars did have to go into hiding because the Catholic Church was hunting them down to kill them. They were hunting them down one by one to kill them all. So they did have to go into hiding. But the thing is that a bunch of them did escape and they went to other places. They didn't kill all the Templars. Okay. A bunch of them took the treasures. They took the Ark and they took a bunch of the treasures and supposedly took them to Oak Island in New Brunswick or wherever that is, not British Columbia. What's it called? The East Coast of Canada. The East Coast of Canada. It's like New Brunswick.
Iceland?
No, it's Iceland's a different country altogether. They went to Canada. They went to Eastern Canada. They went to Eastern Canada to, what is it? The East Coast, Newfoundland and those areas there, like Newfoundland and the islands there in Eastern Canada. And they brought the treasure with and they buried it and hid it somewhere there, supposedly. And then it might have been dug up and hid somewhere else. But a bunch of the Templars escaped with the treasure and came to the Americas, and the Templars settled in the Americas. So Canada and the US. That's where they lived out their lives because they had to, because the Catholic churches were hunting them and trying to kill them all off. So they had to do that. Yeah, that's where they wound off. And they weren't there were some Templars who were bad because they went kind of rogue, but the founding principles of the Templars was not bad, and what they were doing was not bad. They were very good guys. They were very virtuous, because they were trying to protect the bloodline of Christ, for heaven's sake, so they're obviously not bad, because if they were bad, they would try to kill the bloodline of Christ, right? So they weren't bad guys. Now, there were some Templars who might have gone to the dark side. It's kind of like when Jedi or what was his, Anakin Skywalker was seduced to the dark side, right? I mean, that can happen with somebody like a Knight Templar, which was really a Jedi back then. Knight Templars were the Jedis back then. But they weren't all bad. They were majority good. And my son is actually a leader in the DMLA organization. He's like a high up leader. So our family knows a lot about this, because my son could literally sit there and tell you the entire history of Jacques de Molay, where he was born, where he came from, what he did, the whole gamut. He could sit there and tell you the whole story.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. So what do we need to do to get on this ascension timeline? What do we need to do? Like, here's what we called it, is like, what happened to our world? Why is ascension definitely going to happen? And what do we need to do to make it happen? So how can we, reach out or do things for ascension?
You mean, what do we need to do now? Best question ever. So this is the most important thing we're going to discuss. So if everything that you heard that I've just said up until now sounds like gibberish, so be it. But everything I speak out of my mouth now, you need to really listen up, and you need to take note, and you need to do what I say if you care about sticking around on planet Earth, because it's going to be really important. So first of all, you need to do your best to be kind, loving, patient, compassionate, and forgiving, and respectful of yourself, of your family, of your friends, and everybody on the planet. Okay, that's number one. Number two is my book has a whole chapter on how to raise your vibrational frequency and how to protect yourself from negative stuff, because you have to keep your vibe high if you're going to ascend. And the way that you do that is stuff like dancing, singing, playing high frequency music like 528 hertz and higher music, using singing bowls, tuning forks, essential oils, eating healthy, really healthy food, drinking lots of purified water that you've blessed. Make sure you bless all your food, your vitamins, your beverages. Even if you have a glass of wine, bless it. Whatever you put in your mouth, bless it. In the name of, the creator, in the name of Yeshua, you bless it before you put it in your body. And you want to do anything you can that's high vibe. Comedy, laughter is the best medicine. In fact, Yeshua's got a huge sense of humor, and he's always being a joker and laughing and saying silly stuff. He's got a really good sense of humor. So laughter is really, really, really important. Creating joy and happiness every day to raise your vibrational frequency, acting like a kid, go fly a kite on the beach or go for a walk in the woods, grounding yourself every day, earthing. It's really important for everybody between now and when that solar flash hits that we need to ground ourselves every day. And the best way you can do that is to walk barefoot on the actual ground or grass or a beach. But if you're not able to do that because of the weather or some other reason, you can go up to a beautiful tree, a really nice tree, and either put your back up against it and close your eyes and connect with Mother Earth through the tree, or you can put your left receiving hand up against that tree and you can ground yourself. You can also sit your ass on the ground and meditate. That's a great way to ground yourself. You can go walking through the forest. You can work in your garden. Working in your garden is going to help you ground yourself. And if all of those are not available to you because you live in a big city and you're in an apartment and yada, you can buy crystals. Like you can buy here, like a black tourmaline to ground yourself, or you can buy a hematite, which is like a silver colored crystal to ground yourself, or like a red jasper is good, or a black onyx or a black obsidian. Those are all really, really good grounding for the root chakra to ground you to Mother Earth. So those are things you need to do. And as far as like protecting your energy from being lowered, don't argue with people, don't fight with people, do not watch horror movies or movies where people are being killed or murdered and blood and guts and gore, because that lowers your vibrational frequency. Okay. So if you're sitting there going, oh, but Kimberly, I love American horror. It's like, you know, if you want to watch that, fine, but you're going to have to be doing your due diligence to do all the other stuff to raise your frequency, because every time you're watching that, you're really lowering yourself down. So if you go and you do it, I mean, I'm guilty. I sat and watched an episode of American Horror with my son, but I will never do it. I just told him at the end of it, I go, I'm not ever watching this again. This is a disgusting, horrible, hateful show. I can't even deal with this. I'm not watching it ever again. Don't make me, you know, that was my final word on that. So, and then I had to go and sage the hell out of myself and use all kinds of crystals and tuning forks because what I saw like almost like blew up my eyes and my ears, because it was so horrific. It was just devastating. And I'm an empath. And so when you're a starseed, you're really sensitive and you're an empath and you're taking on all that emotion and all that trauma and all that, you know, stuff. So be nice to your neighbors, treat others the way that you want to be treated, you know, just be a nice person. And do things to keep your vibe high, you know, the music, mantras like saying, I am light, I am love, I am peace all day long. That's one of my favorite mantras. I am light, I am love, I am peace. I am light, I am love, I am peace. I am spreading light, love, and peace. I am attracting light, love, and peace. That kind of a thing will raise your vibration, because what we speak is a spell. Our words are spells. We're spelling and we are creating that and manifesting that. So if you think it in your head because you can't speak it, that will work too. You know, in your head, you can say, I am light, I am love, I am peace, I am healthy, I am whole, I am prosperous, I am abundant. You know, all of these positive things, they're going to raise your vibration. And they're going to protect you from all the negativity, and they're going to help you to ascend. So those are the things that you need to do. And the biggest thing of all is take care of the temple of the Holy Spirit. That is one of Yeshua's biggest teachings, is this body was a gift that we were given. And so you really, really need to get your body moving. And I'm going to go do that when I'm off of here. I'm going to go exercise. So you need to exercise. You need to drink a lot of water. You need to take lots of vitamins and nutritional supplements that are good for your body. You need to only eat organic food, not the stuff with the pesticides and the chemicals. The fast food is full of really evil, bad, malevolent stuff. Stay away from that. Stay away from pop and processed drinks. You know, if you're going to drink something, juice, organic fruit juice is okay. Water is okay, of course. And if you have to drink alcohol, don't drink a lot of it, because drugs and alcohol allow demons to take you over. So if you have like one beer or one glass of wine and you're feeling normal, then that's fine. But if you get to the point where you're tipsy or you're drunk, the demons literally sit around and wait for that. And then they either hop inside of you or they attach to you and they ruin your life. So getting drunk or getting drugged. So like, even let's say you smoke pot. Smoking pot's fine, but if you get really high where you're totally not in control of yourself anymore, then you're open for demons to take you over. So smoking a little bit of pot just to be calm and relaxed, like if I do cannabis oil or something like that, CBD oil, it just makes me feel calm and relaxed. But if I'm in a state where I'm like high or drugged up, then a demon's going to hop in there. So I don't ever do that. I've never done that, you know, with those kind of things. So those, that's the best thing I can say. Getting sleep, make sure you're getting at least 7 hours of sleep every night, unless you're me, who sleeps 2 to 4 hours for the last 4 years because of hot flashes every 10 minutes. There's not much I can do about it. Yeah, not a lot I can do about it. So.
Okay. So because I was going to ask you about the feminine. Let me pull up that page again. Because the number of awake was so high, it was at like a 25%. I was super excited. So I kind of want to see if you might ask this again, where we're at with the feminine and the masculine. Do you think we're still at the 95.5?
I haven't asked that since I wrote the book. So let me check in. I actually haven't asked that. I've just been working my hardest
We live
to try
in a
to
man's
shift
world,
it.
and as far as we know, and the last it's written in your book, we're at 95%
But
male,
a lot of us
5%
females have
female.
stepped up to bring that divine feminine back, like you and me, and a lot of us have all, Victoria Reynolds, Salini, Gail Gaia. I mean, all of us are trying to restore that divine feminine. And so
Kristen from like Arcana Shores too, like she's
a cutie pie.
She's bringing other women forward too now.
Yeah, she's a cutie pie. Okay, just a minute. Let me tune in. I don't know her personally. I just watched her videos and I just always go, oh, she's so cute. She's adorable. So, okay.
Check out her most recent one with Sophia.
Oh, okay.
She's so cool.
Yeah. Okay. What % of divine feminine energies have been restored to planet Earth? 30%. Yeah, so we're at 30% feminine now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Is that real? Yeah.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. 30%. I was gonna try to grab this picture, but it's too far away.
You want to cry.
Touched. Yeah.
Because that's huge. Like we were at 5.
Yeah. And that's because, let me explain why. So there's a reason for this, because they're talking to me in my head and telling me. So the reason why is because that was at the beginning when everybody didn't really know what was going on. It was like at the beginnings of COVID and people didn't quite know what was happening on the earth. But once people started waking up, when we had the first and second waves of the Great Awakening, because we had the first wave of it a while ago, and then we had a second wave. We had the first wave, I think, was COVID. The second wave was the election, or maybe it was the opposite way around. I don't remember which came first, chicken or egg. But it was like, wake up with election, wake up with the COVID, that kind of thing. The third stage is going to be what's coming. There's going to be major stuff that's going to be coming soon, and that will be the third stage. So when these people woke up, then they started coming together in these spiritual communities and actually working as a team, because this is what Yeshua told me in 2011. In 2011, he said, you can't do this alone. He said, you need to get together with all the others like you, and you need to all work together as a team, or it's not going to happen. He said, you can't save the earth by yourself. He said, I wasn't able to. He said, I tried to save the earth and it didn't work. So he said, it's because you need other people who are all doing the same thing that you're doing. They're all crusaders, they're all crusaders, not just one crusader. Like, you can't just have Jacques de Molay by himself. He had to have all the Templars. They all had to be crusading, to go get all the Holy Lands freed from the Arabs, or whatever you call them. They needed all of them. They needed all of them. Gosh, I think I just talk and say something, because I think I just disconnected.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. My earphones just kind of temporarily disconnected just now. That's weird. It's having problems. Okay. So we need to all come together. And the reason why it's at 30% feminine now is because all of these light workers that have now come together over the last 3 years, and guess what? A huge percent of them are women. Most of them are women. Mostly women, very few guys, very few. Yeah. And so we're the ones who have restored that. Plus, they're kind of showing me, because I'm clairvoyant, so I see pictures, and they're showing me kind of pictures of certain people who I know who are what we call like shaman, like female shaman and stuff, who have been doing all of these ceremonies and all these things to bring the divine feminine back in, and opening portals and opening gateways and doing all this like work, like doing all this light work, I guess you call it.
Literal grid work.
Yeah. People have been doing grid work for a long time
on our land.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that has helped restore everything. But that's only happened really hardcore in the last 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why. So that's the reason.
Have you heard of like Katie Rain and Huna Flash and all their
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have they have opened up already. They've already done work on like 15 different portals.
Yeah.
And I think he knows of like 65 or something.
Wow. I have a lot of friends
they're
who
at
do
like 15 and Egypt is in March. They have like all these big portal things coming up. They're literally like sending souls back to the light, and it's starting to free our planet. I feel it. I feel like, I mean, the Ascension is already here, right? I mean, it's
already underway. It started in 2012, really big time. It got launched in 2012. And that was that whole Mayan calendar thing. It's not that it was the end of the world. It was the end of the old ways and the beginning of the ascension process into the golden age, or age of Aquarius, basically. So we're heading into the new age of Aquarius, and that's peace and love and all of that wonderful stuff. But it takes a while to build it. It's not going to just happen overnight, like instantaneously. It's just not going to happen that way. So we all have to work together. And so when I'm seeing people fighting online or saying bad things against other truthers or other light workers, when I see them say bad things online, I get really, really angry, because when they're tearing each other down, it's actually blocking all of us from ascending, and it's ruining it for everyone, because we need all hands on deck right now. We need everyone to come together. Everyone who's in this community needs to put down their indifferences. If you don't believe or like everything I say, I don't really give a flying leap. I'm here speaking my truth. I don't expect people to believe my truth. It's like it resonates with some and it doesn't resonate with everyone, and I don't really care. But what I do care about is that we all put our differences down and we all join as a team to save our planet. Because if we don't put all of our petty ass ego bullshit down and join together as a team to save the planet, it ain't happening. It's just not going to happen. Yeah.
And that is I've always known that's my purpose, to help create more love in the world. And I knew the way that we do that is we join together despite our differences. And the time is now. And like, the ascension is upon us, and we are moving in towards that love phase, which is essentially bringing that heaven on earth. So do you want to close us out in a little blessing?
Yeah.
Before we do that, tell us about your new course real quick, and then we'll close out in a little blessing.
Yeah. So,
and how to reach you.
Sorry. Yeah. If you go to the website, learnitlive.com, it's LEARNITLIVE.com, and then / Kimberley Palm. It's got all my classes and my women's meetup groups. And the newest one is the Yeshua and Mary Magdalene life, their true life story. That's up there. It's like it's like a webinar I did, a teaching. It's 2.5 hours long of nonstop info of who they are, their chronology, all of it. And most of it is information you won't find in any books or any internet. You can research it on the internet. You won't find it because it came directly from them or from my remembrances of being there and what I saw. So there's that. And then I have tons of classes up on my website and workshops. And I also offer private sessions. I have meditation courses. I have energy. If you want to become an energy healer, I've got a basic workshop. It's 9 hours long. These are all pre-recorded, so you can listen to them whenever you want. If you go to spiritualgrowthjourneys.com, just like the name up there, it's my website. And then there's a private session page, and then that talks about what I do in a private session. It's got the list of all the things I can do. And then I also have my classes and workshops, and I've got like 6 or 7 or more up there. And I also have a weekly women's spiritual support group that I do 2 times on Tuesdays. So yeah.
So super cool and very important work. So thank you for all the important work you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and both of my books are on Amazon worldwide, pretty much in every country worldwide, but in English, unfortunately.
And it gets delivered the next day. So you could have it tomorrow. You could have them both tomorrow.
You got it in one day? That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. When I order my own copies, they seem to take like a month.
Oh, man.
I don't know why, but they do.
Awesome. Well, it's been such a pleasure. If you want to close out in a little blessing, that would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Mother, Father, Prime Creator, I lift up every person. I lift up Chelsea here and every single person who is listening to this video right now. I lift them up to you. And I ask you to just bless them with love and light and happiness and perfect health and joy and all those positive, good things, prosperity, abundance. Please guide them on their path of ascension, help them to ascend into the fifth density, and give them the angelic support that they need. And we ask this in the name of Yeshua Christ. Thank you. And so it is.
And so it is. That was such a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll definitely do it again. Right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Game.
Bye. Have a good night.